Yo, what's up guys? Teacher Paul here, and today we have a coffee request. If you want to request a video, go over to Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the pinned comments, and you can click over here as well. Guys, today's coffee request comes from Maria, and Maria says, "Hi Paul, this is a video about MGP Nordic. It also talks a bit about the relationship the Nordic countries have to Junior Eurovision. Thank you so much for this request. And guys, it would be very, very, very hard if I had to do this long video without your support. So when you support the channel and when you request videos, it helps me get here and be here more often. And it really makes it possible for me to react to long videos, despite of copyright or reviews or stuff like that. It really helps me stay here and be here and react to stuff that you guys find interesting that, I might find interesting as well. This is from a channel called Neon Pavilion. And if you enjoy this video, just go show some love to Neon. The link is in the description. And yeah, let's take a look at this. This is Nordic MGP. Okay, let's pull it up. Let's go.
About a year ago, I made a video talking about the origins of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest, and in that video I briefly mentioned MGP Nordic, a sort of predecessor to the Junior Eurovision. Now, while that show was part of the telling of the origins of the Junior Eurovision, that was actually only a small bit of the MGP Nordic history. So today we're diving into the short and also fairly forgotten history of the MGP Nordic and the impact that the contest had on children all over Scandinavia. What's up everyone, welcome back here at the Neon Pavilion. My name is Niklas and today it is going to be all about the MGP Nordic. Some of you watching this video may already know what MGP Nordic is. Some of you may have never actually heard about it. But today I want...
Wait, but is he talking about Melody Grand Prix Nordic, or is he talking about the junior version of Melody Grand Prix?
I want to dive into the largely forgotten history of this show and talk a little bit about what this was all about. MGP Nordic is something that I have a lot of very fond memories about. I loved watching the contest as a child, and I feel like it just doesn't get enough love these days. There
He's
aren't
Norwegian.
A lot of people talking
His
about
English
it,
is
and
great.
information isn't really...
Obviously, every Norwegian that I encounter speaking English, you guys sound American. You guys have great English. Like, how? He sounds Danish? Yeah, Nordic countries have the best English. Like, as a second language, I think you guys are killing it. Amazing,
about. I loved watching the contest as a child, and I feel like it just doesn't get enough love these days. There aren't a lot of people talking about it, and information isn't really that available. But today we're gonna try to solve some of that at least and talk a little bit about the contest. Now, before we fully dive into this topic, if you haven't seen the video I did last year about the Junior Eurovision history, let me just sum up what I talked about in that video when it comes to MGP Nordic. In short,
although his teeth kind of makes me think he is from Transylvania, like vampire teeth. I'm kidding. Okay, so far this video is so good, I'll let you guys watch it and I'll watch it with you.
DR created a children's version of their national selection for Eurovision back in 2001, and already a year later it was growing to Norway and to Sweden. Because of that, the MGP Nordic was created, where the first, second and third place of each country would take part in a big televised contest. MGP Nordic had a lot of similarities to the Eurovision Song Contest, and it was also the program that was being used to pitch the idea of Junior Eurovision to the EBU executives. Of course, it ended up being a success, and in 2003 the Junior Eurovision Song Contest was launched, but that also meant that MGP Nordic was no more. And at this point you might think that it was just a one-year thing. It was an experiment. It was something that was created to move on to something bigger. But there is more to the story than that. Like I said during my video last year, the MGP was at its peak of success in the Nordics, but especially in Denmark during the early 2000s. The launch of MGP Nordic and the later Junior Eurovision that had shot the contest to unseen heights and viewership. But a storm was brewing inside of DR, the national broadcaster in Denmark. Before the first MGP was ever...
By the way, when is Junior Eurovision? Right now, we're seeing Eurovision and a lot of great contestants. So keep me in the loop for Junior Eurovision. And is Norway competing? I heard you guys say, or I read you guys say that they're not. And why not, if that's the case?
Broadcast in Denmark. Before the first MGP was ever held,
why?
critics inside of DR claimed that the contest would be too adult for children to participate in. And as the project grew, so did the critic voices, and when the 2005 MGP rolled around, it was clear that DR wanted to take a different approach to the children's song contest. Gone were the flashy clothing, the big stage and the light rigs, and in came a way more childish approach, with a bright set looking very inspired by 70s flower power. And also featuring a cow with sunglasses.
A cow?
That still haunts me to this day.
Hey, who told you it's
Also,
sunglasses?
the studio lighting with spotlights never...
That cow, that is an evil cow. It doesn't look like it has like the middle thing for the sunglasses. It feels like that's actually the cow's eyes. Dark, deep eyes.
Also, the studio lighting with spotlights and everything, that was mostly dropped for a very evenly lit stage. The show was also partly hosted by a children's television mascot of sorts, Bruno, who helped give the show a more childish afternoon vibes instead of a big show full of the pop stars of tomorrow. But Junior Eurovision, on the other hand, that wasn't exactly going in that direction. The 2005 contest was held in Hasselt in Belgium, and it featured an arena with about 15,000 spectators, a huge stage with LEDs, and everything else that we had gotten used to at the Eurovision Song Contest at this point. It truly did feel like the Junior Eurovision was a smaller but still cool and modern contest showcasing upcoming talent from all over Europe, and some countries definitely took it more serious than others. After the 2005 contest, it was very clear inside of DR that the contest was moving in a different direction than what they wanted it to. And after speaking to representatives from SVT of Sweden and NRK of Norway, it was clear that the rest of Scandinavia also agreed. So in early 2006, it was announced that DR, NRK and SVT, they would all pull out of Junior Eurovision, leaving the winners of the local MGPs with no grand prize. But this wasn't for very long, however, as shortly after it was announced that MGP Nordic would be returning later that year. And that is indeed where this story really begins. And yes, it is true, Sweden did participate, but it wasn't with SVT. Instead, it was with TV4, which is a private broadcaster who is also a member of the EBU in Sweden. So that's the explanation of that, but let us get back into the story of the MGP Nordic. The return of MGP Nordic, well, that took place at the SVT studios in Sweden, with Swedish television presenter Henrik Jonsson and Alcazar singer Tess Merkel hosting the contest. And just like it was the case in 2002, the top 3 from each country's local MGPs took part in the contest, but the format had evolved a bit since last time. This time a super final was added, where the favorite from each country moved on to, similar to those super finals that the local MGPs all had at this point. One of the main reasons given behind these super finals is to make sure that no child performer ends up in last place. At least it isn't clear to the viewer, nor to the participants, who got the least amount of points overall. Another change this year, that was the removal of juries, something that had actually been in place in 2002. Instead, the contest was 100% televoting only, just like it was in Junior Eurovision at this point. But just like it was the case in 2002 and just like it is in Eurovision, you could not vote for the participants from your own country. I think having the top 3 go through was actually a really good idea. I understand why it makes a lot of sense, of course, because otherwise you would just have 3 songs battling it out. So from a production perspective, that's probably why the reason was made. But I think it was actually kind of cool because all of a sudden it wasn't necessarily the winner getting all the shine. In fact, I believe every single year we had a case with one of the songs going forward to the super final wasn't actually the one that won in its country. In 2007, for example, all except the eventual winner, that was actually second places from their country. So it was also interesting to see that sometimes when you got to the MGP Nordic and you had the other Scandinavian countries voting, suddenly it was other songs being the favorite rather than the ones who was the favorite of the home country. I think we've all had that experience of your favorite coming so close to winning a national final, and in MGP Nordic, all of a sudden you had the chance to still root for them in a bigger contest. So yeah, I think it was just...
Yeah, it's interesting because recently Sweden had a favorite, which was Måns, right? In the Melody Festival, and Kai ended up winning. So I get what he's talking about here.
Just a really cool format, and I also love the idea that it was one singer from each country moving on to the super final, so you didn't just have like 2 from Denmark and then like 0 from Norway, for example. I think they were very smart about it, at least. Now, just like in 2002, it was once again Denmark who took home the victory, this time with the band Sepp and the song Tro på
Was
os.
Finland in it
A
too?
love song written by the lead singer as a confession of love to his then girlfriend Annie. Actually, I remember some rumors floating around during the time of the contest that Annie was actually pretty embarrassed by the love song and broke up with him shortly after the national MGP, which must have made it pretty awkward to perform in Stockholm. However, it is just rumors and is also talking about a then 13-year-old boy's love life, so let us just move on. Now, luckily for the Scandinavian broadcasters, MGP Nordic did seem to get a pretty good reception on its return. Of the numbers I could find, there was over 500,000 tuning into the country in Denmark that had originally created the concept. The show was already well on its way to becoming the perfect alternative to JESC in the north, and just a year after the contest had returned, it expanded its wings when Finland wanted to join.
Oh,
now,
I thought he was a
unlike the
unicorn.
Scandinavian countries who debuted their junior counterpart to their Eurovision pre-selection back in 2002, Finland, they had never actually experimented with a version of their national final for Eurovision. And technically, they never really did. Let me explain. Technically, it wasn't the Finnish broadcaster Yle that decided to participate, but instead, the participation was a collaboration between the non-profit organization FSU and Yle 5, which is a subdivision of Yle, producing and broadcasting content in Swedish. For those who don't actually know, Sweden is considered an official language in Finland, and it is estimated that around 300,000 so-called Finlandssvenskar live in the country.
I found out about this with Kai. I didn't know that Finland had a Swedish part, and I found out because Kai is Finnish and they're representing Sweden singing a Swedish song. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
FSU is an organization focused on preserving and building upon the culture of young Swedish-speaking Finns, and the project aimed to showcase the musical history of Swedish-speaking Finns. This did also mean that Finland's entries into the MGP Nordic, they were all sung in Swedish. Now, it is worth pointing out that sometime during the 2010s, the rules of the Finnish MGP did actually change to allow Finnish language songs into the contest, but only a few songs during the 15-year run of the show actually ended up being sung in Finnish. With Finland now joining the lineup, the rules of the MGP Nordic were changed so that only the first and second place entries from each country took part. I'm guessing they did so the program wouldn't be too long, but it makes sense, I guess. The 2007 final was held in Norway in the Oslo Spektrum, with 2004 JESC host Nadia and Stian returning to host the show. Something that I think is fun to point out at this point is...
Quick question, why wouldn't they want it to be long? Because I feel like nowadays people want to make it as long as possible so they can kind of like milk the show, right? But I don't think that's the Nordic style.
That since the return in 2006 and up until its final run in 2009, the MGP Nordic would actually reuse the sets and locations of the local MGPs. There was a common logo and mascot of sorts also created in 2006 for the contest, but it only lasted 2 editions. But back to 2007. Except for the introduction of Finland and the reduction of entries from each country, the contest did remain largely the same. The point system was changed, however, from the typical Eurovision scoring to the same system of points seen in the local MGP and MGP Junior. Actually, in fact, while we're on it, the voting system changed more or less every single year, with the style of voting being largely determined by how the host country would do the voting in their own show. Sometimes
That's confusing,
voting would be
though.
open during the performances, sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes you would get the typical 12 points in the end, other times you wouldn't. It was a little confusing, but I'm sure most viewers didn't care.
Bob Tarzan is saying the viewers are kids. Are you like, I don't know. Honestly, like the Junior Eurovision, I think the bulk are adults watching. Are kids watching? Like, obviously kids are watching, but I think is it? I don't know. I have a feeling like the adults would be watching even if it's Junior Eurovision.
2007 contest, well, that was won by Celine from Norway performing her song Beste Venner on home soil. The song being a tribute to her best friend Astrid moving away to a different town. Her best friend Astrid would later go on to become a global pop star, releasing hits such as Think Before I Talk and Hurt So Good under the name Astrid S. And no, I am not making that up.
That's crazy.
Just a little fun fact for you though.
That was
MGP
awesome.
Nordic continued once again in 2008, with Denmark becoming the first country to host the contest for the second time. I guess there isn't much to say about this edition, other than the fact that at this point, the very 70s look of the MGP was gone, with a more pop-punk black, blue, and red aesthetic going in. There was some changes going on inside of DR once again with the MGP, but we'll get back to that later. Also, a little fun fact, this edition had a live band, just like the Danish MGP had actually had since the beginning. I don't think they actually played any of the songs live. I don't think they really did much except provide a backing track in between songs, but I still felt like it was worth a mention. And also just because there isn't really a lot to talk about with these shows in general. And the reason I say that is that while most, but not all of the songs are still available on YouTube, large parts of MGP Nordic is actually what I would consider lost media. You cannot find the full shows anywhere except for 2002, which has only recently been released mostly in full to YouTube. And for the 2009 contest, you cannot actually find most of the entries. Something that I actually care a lot about is media preservation. I spend a lot of time on the Lost Media Wiki for those who know that site, and I think it's
Jeff the killer. Did they actually find out? Yeah, this year has been the best year for lost media. It has been absolutely insane of how many things that have been found.
It's very interesting. You know, we have most of the Eurovision history documented. We have most, if not all, of the Junior Eurovision history documented on YouTube, and you can very easily find the shows. Maybe not in the best quality, but you can find all previous JESC shows. MGP Nordic is just a different story, and I think it's such a shame that the contest isn't available to watch in full. I think that's definitely one of the reasons why it has become a little bit of a forgotten contest at this point. I've tried looking for it, but I haven't had any luck yet. But if anyone watching this video happens to know where a copy might be, or have a copy of any of the MGP Nordics themselves, please let me know down in the comments.
Yes, guys, let us know,
because I would love for these shows to actually become available for everyone to watch again.
Let us know,
that's
guys.
Enough of that. Let's get back into the 2008
Can you imagine
contest.
if we could find
because
lost
MGP
media?
Nordic in 2008 gave Norway their second win with the band The Black Sheeps and the half Norwegian, half Sami song Året jeg skal bande. The title roughly translates to Be
Sami.
Quiet Dog and is about a dog with health issues who later dies from an excess blood pressure.
What?
Fun topics.
Oh, I remember this. I remember this song.
But the song was actually a bit of a commercial success, which is rare for songs from these kinds of contests. It reached #1 in the Norwegian charts, and it gave the band a Song of the Year at the Norwegian Grammys the same year. The Black Sheeps actually became a fairly well-known name in Norway afterwards, but it all ended in 2011 over legal disputes about the royalties and band name.
I've reacted
and if
to
you think that
Odious
story
Band,
sounds
no?
a little bit familiar, you're probably right, as the lead singer of the Black Sheeps, Agnete Saba, was the girl who participated in Eurovision for Norway back in 2016 with the song Icebreaker. Agnete is actually one of 2 former MGP Nordics participants who have taken part in Eurovision. This is another little fun fact for you, maybe you didn't know that, but before Benjamin Ingrosso went on to win Melodifestivalen with Dance You Off, many years before, back in 2006, he actually won the junior counterpart, the Lilla Melodifestivalen, with a song called Hey Sophia. Bet you didn't know that, did you?
Yep.
But while Agnete and Benjamin are the only 2 from MGP Nordic who have gone on to represent their countries at Eurovision, there has actually been a few others who have taken the chance and participated in the national song contests.
Morten Philipsen. He's got the groove. Sister Twister. Oh, he plays the harmonica too.
Maybe we'll see more in the future.
Indeed.
We've come to 2009 now, and we've come to the final edition of MGP Nordic. In 2009, it was Sweden hosting for the second time, and for those who've been following along with the host duties, this also means that Finland is actually the only country that never got the chance to host MGP Nordic. And a little bit more sad, Finland is also the only country who never managed to get a top 2 position in the MGP Nordic. So when it comes to them not actually getting the chance to host, maybe it was due to travel logistics, maybe they didn't have the budget to actually put on a hosting. We don't know, it's never really been specified, and in general, Finland's participation into this contest is not very well documented, so there's probably a perfectly good explanation why Finland never got to host, but my best guess is that since it wasn't on the main channel, the budget to actually put on a final, that just wasn't there. But that's just speculations. Now, I gotta say, the 2009 show actually had some pretty nice graphics, with each entry having their own unique graphic where it says their name. It definitely feels like there was more of a thought put into the graphics of this edition, and SVT was at this point beginning to become one of the big powerhouses within television production in Scandinavia. But
it looks like it's an intro for a kids show, an intro for like a series, a sitcom, you know.
Other than that, I don't have much to say about this edition. Well, I guess except for the fact that the Danish singers Pelle B and Freja exchanged a little kiss during their performance, which makes you wonder all sorts of things. Was it planned? If yes, then why was it allowed by the producers and the Danish delegation? Or maybe even worse, was it the idea of the producers? The questions are many, but let's not move further into that. I couldn't imagine seeing this in MGP or in Junior Vision in the future again. 2009 also gave Sweden their first and only win with Ulrik Münter and En vanlig dag,
just a great controversy,
to an ordinary day.
Nice. Great voice.
This left Denmark and Norway tied with 2 victories, Sweden with 1 and Finland with 0, like I mentioned previously. And also a little fun fact while we're on this edition, I actually won a MGP t-shirt on DR's website back then because I took part in a competition where you had to guess who would win the MGP Nordic, and I guessed correctly. So En vanlig dag is also a bit of a banger, and I wish I had the t-shirt still so I could show you, but I think even when I won it, it was a little too small for me, so I I sadly don't have it anymore. MGP Nordic was supposed to continue into the 2010s, with Norway being chosen as the next host for the contest. However, in the beginning of the year, it was announced that DR would pull out of the contest and take a 1-year break from the MGP to look a little bit more at the format and work on it once again. Shortly after, SVT dropped their Lilla Melodifestivalen as well, leaving only Norway and Finland left, who then chose to cancel the contest in May of 2010. And just like that, the story of MGP Nordic comes to an end. Despite MGP Nordic dying out, however, local song contests for kids still continued throughout the 2010s. Luckily, DR came back with the MGP in 2011, with a big change this time being that the show would now be held on the same stage as Dansk Melodi Grand Prix, being held the week after. This is actually still the case today, with the most recent edition being won by 12-year-old Sofie with her song Det Bare Tanker. The show actually continues to be a big success in Denmark, and the shows are often selling out faster than the grown-ups MGP is doing.
Wow,
Norway's
we should
MGP
check it out.
Junior celebrated 20 years on air back in 2022 with a big medley featuring all previous winners in their now grown-up form. Seriously, go check out that performance if you haven't already. It is really fun to see that little time capsule that it is, and I think NRK did a really great job at doing that thing. However, shortly after this contest was held, it was confirmed that NRK was looking to make some changes to the format, and the contest would not be held in 2023. At the time of this recording, it is still unknown what those changes will be and if the show will even continue in 2024. The most recent winner of the contest, that was William and his song Tusen Tonga. Finland decided that 15 was the magic number as they celebrated their 15th and last edition of their contest back in 2021.
Kids are so
the reasons
talented,
given by
guys.
Yle5 and FSU was that they wanted to create a new kind of competition that would show off more kinds of talents and interests of Swedish-speaking Finns instead of just singing. In true Finnish form, however, the final winner of the MGP Finland, that was a rock band Lynx and the song Vill du också le. And then finally, there's Sweden. After dropping the Lilla Melodifestivalen back in 2010, they went on to return to the Junior Eurovision and internally selected their entry. They did so in 2011 as well, but in 2012 the contest returned, however in a much different form. This time the contest was broadcasted live on the radio during the summer from an amusement park. The participants this time had to be between 12 and 15 years old, and the winner was actually 100% decided by a jury vote. The contest would continue using this.
She had a spider in her hand, on her hand. I just realized and I was like, what? There's a tarantula on her hand.
Actually 100%.
Can you imagine if she scares herself, she forgets that she has that kind of ring or something, and then she just forgets it and then scares herself thinking it's a real spider?
Decided by a jury vote. The contest would continue using this format for 2 more years before ultimately being cancelled in 2015, along with an announcement that SVT would sit out of the contest in Bulgaria and return with a new setup to JESC in 2016. However, to this day, Sweden is yet to return to Junior Eurovision, and 2023 won't be the year either. This means that Julia Shethammer and her song Du är inte ensam was the final winner of Lilla Melodifestivalen. And just like that,
that's crazy because Sweden is one of the, most winning Eurovision countries out there with Ireland. They need to be in the Junior Eurovision. The kids are the future.
That we've reached the end of this tale. I think it is such a shame that MGP Nordic doesn't exist anymore. I love this contest growing up, and I think for many Nordic kids, this is a contest you remember. It was a chance to get to cheer on your favorites from the Danish contest in the national contest, and there also wasn't that cultural barrier that Junior Eurovision sometimes have, because it was a show being produced by countries very close to you, so they all had, they were all different in their own way every single year. They still had a similar kind of vibe, and they definitely had a more childish approach to things than what we saw at Junior Eurovision. When MGP Nordic stopped being broadcasted, that was also around the time where, thankfully, the internet was starting to really become a thing, especially in terms of streaming and stuff, and this is where I discovered that Junior Eurovision was still a thing. It was still going on, and I started watching the contest online back then, so, I did have something to fill the void. enjoyed, but I would be lying if I said I hadn't hoped that MGP Nordic would have actually come back at some point. In the year 2023, if you ask me now if I think the MGP Nordic will ever return, the answer is no. I don't think it ever will. I think with Sweden not doing the contest anymore, Norway maybe doing the contest again, and like I said, Finland definitely not doing it anymore either, there just isn't a lot of room or interest in doing an MGP Nordic. It is weird, isn't it? It's such a big success in Denmark. The contest is loved by so many, but in the rest of Scandinavia, it was just never the same case. Whatever the case may be, I would have loved to see MGP Nordic continue. I think some of the songs, because I have been following some of the local contests in the past couple of years, and had the contest continued, I think someone like Finland would have actually been able to get a victory. But it is what it is. Like I said, right now, I just wanted to make this video, and in fact, it's a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, because I've been wanting to tell this story. I've been wanting more people to remember the MGP Nordic, or maybe hear about it for the first time, because if we can get more people interested in it, maybe we can actually get those shows up on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet, because I would love to relive the shows. That was the story of MGP Nordic. I do hope you enjoyed this little look back of the contest. If you did, then as always, leave a like and subscribe for more Neon Pavilion content, and then I'll hopefully see you guys very soon. Take care.
Yeah, guys, that was a great video. That was really informative. And hey, if you have any footage of MGP Nordic, please let us know. Let us know in the comments and join us on Discord. You know, send the videos there. It would be so cool if we could find some lost media. And yeah, I think it's a good idea, like to bring it back. Kari in the chat is saying that children do not need to go to the contest because it's not child friendly enough, and I somehow agree. I mean, I somewhat agree with that, because we have seen what has happened in the previous Eurovisions also. I don't know about the junior Eurovision because I don't think I've reacted to it enough. I've seen it, but I don't know if I've reacted to it. Can't remember. But the Eurovision is absolutely like stressful. The environment is crazy. Last year was absolutely chaos. So if they can make it child friendly, I would definitely love to see, you know, the kids have their chance and present their songs and stuff like that. But a lot of change needs, like maybe as it is, it shouldn't, you know, Norway shouldn't be there. But if things change, then yeah, I guess it should be. I mean, every country should be able to be there. But I understand where Kari is coming from, and I think the normal Eurovision also needs a lot of change. From what we seen last year, a lot of crazy stuff happened. It was out of control. I hope this year is different, and I hope they change for the better. But yeah, this was a great video. This is from Neon Pavilion. If you guys liked it, go support him. Leave a comment on his video. And children should not go out of the Nordic countries. What? What are you talking about? Disney, travel, tourism. What? I don't understand the... Wait, but with their parents, they go with their parents, right? Okay. I'm gonna go and try to understand what the topic is here, because I just read it like children should not go out of the country, like. But okay, I'm gonna try to understand this. If you guys want to join me live, I'm here at 11 a.m. Sorry, that's on my other channel. 6 p.m. Scandinavia time. Come join us, and I'm gonna go look at the chat and talk to the chat and see what the idea is here. But guys, thank you so much for watching. You mean for work, right? Children shouldn't go out for work, I think. Anyways, we're gonna end this video. Like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and click over here to request a video, just like Maria did. Click over here to see my Eurovision playlist, I guess. And I'll see you guys. Take care. Bye bye.